Do you want more? More time, more balance, more love, more sex, more money, more real, and less bullshit? This is the Women Wanting More podcast with Dr. Karen Osborne. Real life, real stories, plus real tips to get you more of what you want.
Return to love, sister. Return to love. I'm reading the book entitled That, and by Marianne Williamson, which is a book you need to read. I'm literally, the introduction in the first chapter in which I'm reading with my good friend Jill, and it's just like my mind's been split wide open. So you may have heard of a book called A Course in Miracles, and this is Marianne Williamson's interpretation of it. It is a, Oprah found the book like years ago, and then it exploded. And if you don't know Marianne Williamson, you most certainly have heard the quote about our deepest fear. You know that quote? I'm going to put that in the show notes, which, by the way, side note to that, if you do not subscribe to the newsletter, like show notes, it means that you get all the resources and links. So things that I talk about, you're like, oh yeah, that thing, right? Or, you're listening on your phone, or you're in the car, or you're walking, you're like, I can't really have access to my phone, I'm just kind of listening to the podcast. You can't get to the show notes that way. When you subscribe to the newsletter, it means you get them all. So that's at drkarenosborne.com/action guide. So let's get into this. And that there's some things that I'm going to talk about. I have no idea where this conversation is going to go today. But there'll be some things that I talk about and I share of what I'm seeing in this and how I think this relates to you, that you will most likely kind of nod your head and go, yeah. But I want you to, as opposed to hearing it and kind of cerebrally, intellectually having it go to that piece of your brain, I want you to really feel it inside your heart, what I'm going to share in this podcast episode. And that's not an easy thing to do. We've been so trained out of that space. So again, this is Marianne Williamson's interpretation of A Course in Miracles. And, one of the things that she talks about, this return to love, is that, and this is part of my quest too, to just moving more in a spiritual place these days, is that really at our core, our foundation is love. And I know you're going to hear that. You'll be like, yeah, all you need is love. And like, got it, right? I don't need things. I just need love. No, things are okay too. But like, this is understanding that you're vibrating either in two places, either in a place of love or in a place of fear. And how does fear manifest? Anger, overwhelm, stress, guilt, worry, concern, comparison, scarcity, kind of that lack mentality. That's how fear surfaces, right? Blame, victim, that's fear. Love is a totally different plane. And so as I'm reading this today, I'm seeing like a bunch of things for me. Number one, when it's like, she talks about that, like, this is really of our essence is love. And you might go, no, Karen, there's some evil people in the world. I get it. But I still think for even those people that at their core and their essence is love. And something happened to them, experiences that they had that they chose to disconnect from who they are. To disconnect from who they are. And listen, we all have things that move us out of love, right? But think, either watch your children, or if you don't have kids, people that have kids or see kids in the park and they're just joyful and present. And, my oldest son, Tyson, I think both my boys have big hearts. Tyson said something the other day. So he had a buddy of his, Sam. He's one of his BFFs in his class. And Sam my husband picked up Tyson that particular day. They were playing in the playground afterwards, and his buddy Sam got stung by a bee, and he was really hurting, and he had to go home. And then Tyson and my husband Ed came home early because of that. And Ed told me that Tyson said to him, "Daddy, I wish that bee would have stung me so that Sam didn't have to feel that pain." It was like, oh my God, my heart just melted, right? And he says things like this. And, of course I think my child is a special child. We all think that way about our own children, right? But, really, this is who we are as children. It's just love. Listen, why do you think we're so, and I don't think it's just women. I think that people are just magnetically attracted to babies, to puppies. But just think of like a baby, right? You might go, oh, but it's beautiful and it's so cute, and the new baby smell and all these things, right? Which I think we as women can have, whether you have children or not, that that feeling. There is a nurturing piece to us that's part of our DNA. It's part of our biology as women. It's who we are. But yet, I think there's something bigger as I speak into this right now. Because I think that as babies and as young children, they are so connected to love at that point in their life. They're still so connected to it, right? Still so connected to it. They are so present. They're picking up on all these things, right? They will easily laugh and giggle and be silly. They will easily go and tell a friend that they love them and give them hugs. Like that. Now, yes, there's a piece of it that's like, how are you raised and what's the message in your... I noticed for my kids, we talk about love all the time. I tell my children I love them several times a day. My husband never grew up. Nobody ever said that they loved each other in his family. It doesn't mean that they didn't love each other. It's just it was never said. It was never discussed. It was never spoken. It was uncomfortable. No, right? In my family, sure, that stuff was, but not like I do with my children. To me, there is not you can't give your children too much love. That's just ridiculous. Impossible. It's infinite and it's who we are. It's like saying, well, I guess I was going to say you can have too much water. You can't have too much water. You can. But we talk about it all the time in my home. But regardless of that, I believe that, again, as kids, we're so connected to that. And then what happens? We get disconnected from that. We get disconnected from source, universe, God. And some of us might even have practiced religion and been piece of that, but yet are kind of going through the motions of it. That might even still be something, right? This is why for me, religion still strikes a discord. For me, if it works for you, beautiful. Organized religion, fantastic. If it gets you what you want, incredible. My experience has been religion, and again, what I equate it is constricting, not freedom, telling you the way that it needs to be done. These are the rituals because they've always been done, and this is the way it's always going to be. No room for evolution and progression within that. Not all religions, but that's again been my experience, and in some religions. But these things that disconnect us, so we're so drawn to babies and to children because they're just so love. Seriously, what does that tell us, right? We want to watch, if we see something like a marriage proposal, right? We see children, we see a baby getting born, we see, stories that are about love. We gravitate towards these things because that is really truly who we are. And to me, in my definition of God, and so funny, I say that word and there's that piece of me that's rah, it's not a word that easily came out of my mouth because I didn't truly believe in that whole thing because of my affiliation of that, my attachment of that to religion. And so I'm religion doesn't work for me, God doesn't work for me, and there you go. There's a universal force, sure, I believe in that. There's some kind of spirit and thing, but I don't need to call it God, and I don't want to, And however, wherever you are when it comes to spirituality, beautiful. But here's something I want to share with you that happened today. So I start reading this book, right? And I felt this awakening thing over the last couple weeks, and my decision to not do any coaching over these summer months and just really figure things out, really figure out me. That's what that comes down to. Feeling this real pull towards God and spirituality. And at the same time, kind of feeling like a bit of a crisis. It's so interesting that she talks about in the book too, in that first chapter of I'll show you the book right now. However, I'm driving, but to pull it out and actually read a certain passage, I'll include that in the show notes. But it's kind of like, unless you have a moment, or let me kind of rephrase that. It is the moments that you feel like, you kind of drop to your knees, like in desperation, that you tend to now are open to a conversation about God. And that's like 100% of where I am. 100%. But here's something interesting that happened today. So I read like the introduction, the chapter. My friend Jill and I are voxing each other just to kind of share what insights, and each day we're going to read 2 chapters. And I finished reading them, and I'm like, I sent my dissertation, if you will, to Jill, what I saw, and it was great, and it was really lovely to write those things, and just felt a lot. And then my youngest son wakes up, and everything's kind of loving and stuff, and everything's like great. And then my 4.5-year-old Kai is being what 4.5-year-olds do. A little difficult, a little challenging. And I was patient, and then it was just like a spring, like boom. Then I just I got mad. I was kind of short with him. And I didn't totally explode. I've had those moments for sure, but I was kind of short with that. I'm like, okay, just step aside. I got this now. Was, kind of angry at him. Why aren't you being the parent? Why can't you handle this stuff? I'm taking the kids. You can't help with this one. All my stories, all my stuff. And then Guy's crying, and I'm apologizing to Kai, and then we talked about it as well too. On I'm actually get out and go walk down the beach as we talk about this a little bit more. Let's do that. So we got to daycare and apologizing some more, and I'm reflecting. I'm not beating myself up, but I'm reflecting on it, and I'm like, you know what? It's so interesting. Is because there's either fear or there's love. And there's really not a whole lot other, because again, fear's gonna take the form of different things. Love's gonna take the form of different actions, different emotions, different feelings. But really, you're either in fear or you're in love. It's one or the other. And I'm like, man, I was in such a loving space. I can just feel it. I'm like, man, can people feel it? Can they see this? I just feel light pouring out of me, and just vibrating this different frequency, and just, so deep in my heart. And then I just lost my shit. Okay, so number one, the thing that I see from this, and I want you to really hear this in too, sister, is whatever you are going through spiritually, otherwise in your life, it is a process. It is a process. This isn't you do something oh, I see the light. I got it. I'm in love. Boom, there you go, right? And the second piece was anger, pushing so hard, fighting against shit that I don't want, with my words, with my physicality, with all of that stuff, has been such a part of who I've chosen to be for so long. It's there's a piece of that that's fighting back. No. Right? The piece of me that when I would hear words describe someone as soft and gentle, and I was psh, that's not powerful. That's not me. Even feminine was kind of nah, that's not really me. I'm not girly. I'm not any of these things. And so although I'm now very open and accepting to kind of you know what, there's all different sides of me. It's all good, right? Just there's all different sides to you, sister. But yet, I know that this process is going to be a kind of 2 steps forward, 3 back, right? That there will be, and oh my God, I come out here to the ocean, the sun's shining, and it's sun bouncing off, the water's just diamonds, just gorgeous. So thankful to live where I live. So yeah, you're gonna have that. You're gonna have that, you're kind of, you're I was gonna say destroying that piece of you. Kind of. I just think, you're remembering who you are, and there'll be a fight, right? Think of, a habit you're trying to break kind of thing. There'll be a fight. And that piece is going to come out again. That anger's going to come out again. It's, funny, as I apologize to Kai. Whenever I apologize to him, if I have yelled, or I was impatient or whatever, and just said, Kai, I'm really sorry. It's not okay. It's a clean sorry. It's not a, it's because, and you should listen to mommy. It's none of that stuff, right? I own it. I own it because it's the right thing to do. And I own it because I'm teaching my children that too. Because we're responsible for our own lives and our choices. But one thing that Kai will always say to me is, he's so, oh my God, he's such a sweet kid. Be like, that's okay, Mommy. Just don't ever do it again. And I know in the past I've been like, okay, buddy. But today I said something different to him. And I said, Kai, thank you. He's like, I forgive you, Mommy. Just don't do it again. I said, thank you for forgiving me, Kai. I love you. I appreciate you. But Mommy can't make that promise to you. Because Mommy's going to make mistakes. And you're going to make mistakes. And that's part of being a human being. And so it was like, as I'm saying the words to Kai, I was also saying the words to myself. We're going to fuck up in life. You're going to make these mistakes. It's part of it. So what? How boring would life be if you're like, oh my God, I see the light, I see the way, I see this path, I have this business idea, I found this partner, like all this, whatever that is for you, and then suddenly you just shot vertical. It would be boring. I'm not saying you have to produce drama in your life, but it is part of it. It is the process. It is the experiences that will happen along the way for you to really understand the meaning of trusting and surrendering to it. See, I could use this experience and I could beat myself up and I could be like, fucking Ed, man, I can't oh, Kai, you're just rah. And I've done those things before. Even from a logical standpoint, they don't work. I don't get anything that I want from that. Nobody's happy. It's lose, lose, lose. But trusting to this, trusting that that was supposed to happen that way. Yep. Because I need to see it. I need to understand that I can read these things and I can really resonate with something. I can really and then I can say, okay, let me now act in accordance with what I've learned and the things that I've realized about myself and actually put it into play in my life. But I'm going to have regression, if you will. I'm going to take those 3 step backs when I just took 2 steps forward. This is the way it works, and it's okay. And I'm easy on myself. I give myself that grace, right? Of just dude, I'm not going to use it as an excuse. I'm not going to expect that I'm going to, make mistakes or fuck up, mess up, however you want to describe that. But I understand that when it happens, it's okay. And I don't need to beat myself up. That's a choice. I certainly need to learn from it. Let me rephrase that. I certainly choose. Choose. Doesn't that sound different when you say choose versus need? Needy, desperation, choose. No, choose, choice. You think that need means that, it's more control over that or something, but really you have control of your life. But there's some directions you're going to be steered that it might not even make sense at first. Right now, what I'm going through, I'm just like, what the what? I'm writing a book actually right now during this space. And I thought the book was about marriage. And I started writing about marriage, about 3,000 words in, then I'm like, this is not about marriage. It's about this experience right now. So here's your more tip for today, sister. Go get a Return to Love by Marianne Williamson and read the book. Really, really, it's that important. Go get the book and read it. Absorb it. And there you go. So one thing I'm going to ask of you today then, sister, if this podcast has been helpful for you, if this has resonated with you, I want you to share this up, post it up on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, wherever you'd like to hang out on social. Text it to a friend, and then tag me on it. I would love to acknowledge and appreciate you for sharing and paying this episode forward. All right, sister, I'll talk to you the next episode. A life of more. It's just one step away from me doing this fucking work every single day. I love and appreciate you.
To get the show notes of each Women Wanting More episode, including the How to Get More tip, subscribe to the newsletter at drkarenosburn.com/newsletter.